Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to CAN TV 21 Hotline. Let's talk etiquette. My name is Gina Jameson, and I'm the co-host this evening of Let's Talk Etiquette. You are invited to call and join in the conversation at 312-738-1060. Now I would like to introduce my very special guest, Congressman Danny K. Davis, representing the 7th Congressional District here in Chicago. Welcome, Congressman Davis, and thank you so much for being my special guest this evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The subject for our show today is one that we have visited on many occasions here on Let's Talk Etiquette. And under the circumstances, it's a subject that we must revisit. Why do you think this is worthy to be a subject?
Well, we can call it etiquette, we can call it values, we call it a number of different things, value system. Society establishes for itself a set of expectations. And so expectations are the way that society looks at individuals, groups of individuals, as to whether or not you're fulfilling the society's expectations of you.
Exactly. So what our topic today is, or this evening is, stop the violence, teach etiquette. Crime and violence is an educational problem. It's a learned behavior. Teach manners and morals. Good manners, politeness and consideration, good morals, ethics, integrity, respect, and character. That's what the Etiquette Foundation of Illinois represents. I just want to say to you, Mr. Davis, I'm just so happy that you're here with us today, and it's really on a very, very special occasion. What we've lost, I think, in our community and in our nation is the actual word of civility. If we can learn to be civil to one another, and I remember listening to you one of the interviews during your interview with reference to your grandson, that you were saying we've got to create more civility in our nation and within our children. And you making that comment just struck, said, you know what? He is so, so very true. And I thought that you coming together, or you coming with us and expressing the same thing, because that's what our foundation is all about.
Well, I commend the foundation for people coming together to promote concepts and ideas. As a matter of fact, that's long been a part of what you would expect in a free and democratic society, such as the one that we try to have in the United States of America. And I only say try, because we don't always do what we say we want to do. We fall short. But I guess as long as we're moving in the direction of that and trying to get good, oftentimes when I talk with young people, I will say to them something like, good, better, and best. Never let it rest until your good becomes your better and your better becomes your best. Which means that we're always trying to become better than what we are. We're always trying to reach a goal that we haven't quite reached yet. We're always trying to, if you've got a job, I always say, my mother used to tell us, look, if you do something, now that your task has begun, never leave till it's done.
Never leave till it's
Be the
done.
labor great or small, do it well or not at all. And so these little tidbits of principles helps one to reach for the stars.
But absolutely, but with that being said, but we have to teach our children that. We have to nurture them. We have to groom them. And I think that that's something that's been alleviated in their training. Uh, be it said that if, maybe the parents can't do it like it should be done, or because when we were growing up,
Well,
it was like they say, it takes a village to raise a child.
That's right.
And I do remember that, because if there was anything going wrong in the neighborhood, someone who would be an adult would definitely call your mother or your father. By the time you got home, they were ready for you.
What amazes me is sometimes when you talk with professional educators, or when you're trying to get school systems and school districts to include certain things, they tell you that there really isn't the time
Right.
to do that, that you gotta be doing something else. Because I believe that people have a tendency to learn what they live. And if it's not taught, they will not learn it. And if they do not learn it, then it's not something that they view as being important. I remember when I was attending school, elementary school as well as high school, we had something called every week, once a week, we'd have chapel.
Yes.
Or everybody would come into the auditorium at different times. The principal would give us directions about things. The teachers would talk about things, and sometimes we'd get a chance even to ask a question. and even when I went to college, we had something called Vesper on Sunday afternoons. And if you were a freshman, you was assigned a seat in the auditorium at Vesper. You had to attend. When you became a sophomore, then you had the option. You could attend or not. And then on down, if you were a junior or a senior,
Right.
you had more latitude. But they taught, some people would call it religion even, or they taught religiously.
Religiously. Right.
I'm not sure they always taught religious philosophy, but they taught that you needed to be in contact with yourself, how you impacted others, and what you were expected to do.
But I think that that's what has been lost in our schools, and that's something that the Etiquette Foundation and even myself are trying to re-event into the schools, because just as you stated before, the schools seem to say they don't have time. And the one thing that's really our drawback is that they don't have the money. It depends on what you consider what's important. Money is not just dollars and cents of books, and there's no expense to learn good behavior. And if we can convince the system that this is it's just a basic learning. It's almost like reading, writing, and arithmetic.
I think
reading,
it's
writing, arithmetic.
just as important. I mean, for example, I remember as a teenager especially, we were taught etiquette in terms of how you interacted with girls, for example. If a lady dropped her handkerchief, you'd reach down and pick it up. Or if a lady was walking with you, you'd always step aside, open the door for her, and allow her to go in. Or if you managed somehow or another to talk your father into letting you use the car for a date or something, you would open the door.
Open the door.
You
Absolutely.
go on one side,
Absolutely.
open the door for the lady, and after she gets in, you close the door.
Right,
Then you
right.
go around.
And all of that's not being taught. And that's what I'm saying. And that has to be taught. We have to teach our children that. Because now, women think that they can just open the door themselves, and that's
but
so
worse
not
than
good.
that, I just couldn't help but, it was cold one day, and I pulled up to the service station, and the wind was blowing, and this lady was driving the car, and she gets out to get some gas, and the brother was sitting in there listening to music. It's her car. She driving. She got the money, and he's sitting there rocking while she's out here. And I just couldn't help but stop and look.
Stop and look, right?
I say now, we would have just been castigated
Absolutely.
if somebody had seen us in that situation.
Absolutely.
But that's life. I mean, we got to change it.
We got to change it, and that's what this is. The foundation, the Etiquette Foundation, is really, really attempting to do, and we're really trying to put this program into the schools and really let the principal understand how so very important this is. Let's take the budget and let's just
Squeeze it.
Squeeze it. You see how much
Add
we
another
squeeze
few
it.
minutes
Absolutely.
to class time. I think you've got a caller, it
Oh.
looks like.
How do we press the caller?
I think you just asked the caller to
Oh.
go right ahead.
Caller? Do we have a call?
Yes, yes. I'm a longtime fan of this show. It's a great show, and I'm surprised that the congressman is there, and I want to take this opportunity to offer my condolences to him and his family for the tragic loss. And Congressman, I go back with you many years, so please accept my condolences.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Wonderful. Now, my question is, the topic of the show suggests that really this is an educational problem, the violence in our community. Is it anything that the Congress can do to support that kind of training in our schools? I certainly think our children can benefit from that. And I'm an old schooler. My parents taught me manners and morals, and I understand what integrity means and being humane and caring. If those values are taught to our children, I can't see them becoming killers. I can't see them being, treacherous and violent in our community. Could you speak on that for us?
I think we need to advocate enough, and we got to get people believing that what they thinking makes sense. I said to the young people that I spoke with last night that President Barack Obama called me to talk about the murder of my grandson, and talked about coming back to Chicago and doing some work on violence prevention and all of this. President Trump called me and extended condolences and talked about Chicago. Something is happening and we need to try and change it. Former President Bill Clinton called me. As a matter of fact, he was the first one to call me to extend condolences and say, any way we can help prevent violence in Chicago. But the governor called me. Governor Ronna called me. Mayor Emanuel called me. So lots of people now are concerned about the violence we're experiencing in Chicago. And they all profess that they want to do something about it. So it becomes a matter of finding that something we can get enough agreement on. Because most things cost money, and the money has to come from somewhere. But I let you know they are concerned, they are interested, and we just need to find what it is we can agree upon to do.
Okay, with that being said, do you have, how do we start this? Do we put together people? What people do we how do we get this coalition started? What's the first step, do you think?
Well, I think we had a meeting the other day of the black elected officials of Illinois where lots of the black elected people, aldermen, state reps, state senators, other people, and we maintain that there's no silver bullet, no one thing.
Right.
That it's
I
going to
understand
take. One is education. That education must be strengthened. Another is that parenting. That many parents who are young parents, and especially those who have children at an early age,
Right.
that they sometimes don't know a great deal about parenting. And
Because
so they need help.
Because they're still children.
That is true. And
You
so
know.
parenting programs, see, you can teach people if you can convene them,
Right.
if you can get them to come somewhere to learn.
And what is that trigger? What is it that we do to make that happen? First we have to have people to come who are interested.
Yes.
First of all, so we've got to collaborate or some kind
And
of way.
people who believe that
More,
certain things
right.
matter. I often try and suggest to people that things didn't just drop out of a Cracker Jack box. that somebody created everything it is that we use, everything that we do. But the first step is believing.
Believing. Right.
Believing. And that's why I think that faith institutions, church, bottom line,
Okay.
are so important. Because if you don't believe something, you're not going to spend your time trying to do it.
Exactly. You have to
And
believe.
so church to me is a very important part of this equation. I go to churches a lot, and sometimes I'll go, and there are very few people there. Or I will go and there are no teenagers there
Right.
at all. There are no young people. I will go and there are no teenaged African American boys there at all. None. And so if you're not directing people, young people especially, towards these resources of understanding, then I don't think you're going to change their behavior. They have to reach the point where they think something is important. For example, I valued my parents enough that if I was doing something and somebody said, I'm going to tell Miss Mazzy, you didn't have to say anything.
That's my point, right?
You didn't have to say anything else at all to me.
Absolutely.
Because I wanted my mother to be proud of who
Yes.
I was, and I wanted her to respect me. And, I tried to play a little athletics in high school and stuff like that. But I'd be just disappointed if my parents didn't come to a basketball game.
Okay, so that was when we were coming up. But now it's a whole new dynamic with teaching now with our children because, just as you stated before, we have parents who are still young people. They haven't experienced adulthood. So how do we get them to, what is the trigger that we give to them to make them, okay, a lot of children don't go to church.
You are so...
When you go to church, you don't see the teenagers. There's a reason that is, because maybe the church isn't doing really its part.
Or maybe nobody ever took them. I'm saying...
That's right.
If they won't go...
We've got to go out there and we've got to corral them and we've got to bring them.
And I see churches that sometimes have outreach ministries. They have church outside. They do everything they can think of. Although a good friend of mine, Reverend Milton Bronson, who has passed away a number of years ago, very popular preacher. But Milton used to talk about playing softball as part of a church league that would draw him and other teenage boys into the church environment. And then it was through playing softball that they got into some other things that were
Right.
church
Right, church related,
orientated.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you, like what I'm saying, you have to find something that their interest, and at this point, our children's interests, they're not outside very much.
Well, I loved something called KYB when I was a kid, and it just simply meant know your Bible. But we did all kind of, and the people where I lived did not have much formal education. They had education, but nobody black in my town had a college degree. Not a single solitary person. But they knew all this other stuff. Somehow or another, they understood it. They knew it. We'd have little socials on Sunday afternoon.
And that's kind of lost, where we don't, if you notice, I remember when we were growing up, the bedroom, it was like brothers and sisters slept in the same room, if not the same bed. Now, parents, every child has his own bedroom. We've just gotten away from that connection, of family connection, of being together with that, first of all.
I think we can get back to it. There's sometimes in church they talk about going back to the old landmark.
Okay.
Meaning go back to doing some of the things that you used to do. And I think if people did it, they would enjoy it. Some churches do have men. I watch television sometimes, and I will watch the Apostolic Church, and I see all the men who are there. I go to some churches, and you can count the men on one hand. They just don't have the male involvement. So there's so many things that we can do if we will.
And that's the issue. Where do we start? And we start from basics, I think, and we teach them politeness, we teach them manners, we teach them morals. If we can, with that being said, then that teaches them discipline. Then they will have an opportunity to want to learn.
I love to be polite. I
Isn't
like
it
the
wonderful?
idea of saying yes, ma'am, and
thank
yes,
you.
sir, and thank you.
Thank you.
And pardon me, sir. Like I'll be somewhere, somebody say, hey, buddy, soon as hey, Jack, my man. But I'd much rather that someone say, and I always say it, pardon me, sir, could you pass me that?
Oh, my goodness.
Or could you give me two of these candy bars here? Or whatever it is, acknowledging the humanity of another person, I think strengthens you.
And I think our young people don't understand that, how humanity is so magnificent and so beautiful, and it's just being human, being a part of the earth here. And I don't think our young people understand how important that is. Life is so beautiful and so important. And that's where we really have to start. That's my question.
Well, if we teach them, I think they will. I know that our time is up, so I just want
Right.
to thank you for a wonderful, wonderful discussion.
Well, thank you very
I've
much.
enjoyed it tremendously and look to have the opportunity
I
to
just
come
want to
back.
say, I want to just put the information for, if you don't mind,
No.
for the services of your grandson. And that is the celebration in life of Jaban Wilson. And the services will be Saturday, November 26th at Cary.
Tercentenary.
Oh, thank you very much.
Cary Tercentenary
Centenary.
AME Church.
AME Church, and that's at 1448 South Holman. That's the 9:30 is the pre-pass. The wake is from 10:30 to 11, and the funeral will be 11 a.m. At the Tercentenary.
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 It was
Okay,
named
that's-
after a bishop, Bishop Carey, who was a well-known bishop in the African American church. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. I know that our time has passed, and I'm ready to go.
Are you ready to go? Thank you so much, Congressman. Thank you so much.